just minutes before the world knew anything had changed. A sudden decision inside the British royal household quietly stopped what many believed was the beginning of Meghan Markle's return to royal life. There was no press release, no public announcement, and no official statement prepared in advance. Instead, a firm internal order spread through palace staff, security teams, and senior advisors with a single message: all preparations must stop immediately. The order did not come from the king's office, nor from a spokesperson. According to multiple royal commentators, it came directly from Princess Anne. For many inside the palace, this alone was shocking. Princess Anne is known for her discipline, silence, and strict respect for royal structure. She rarely speaks publicly and almost never acts without deep consideration. So when she moved so decisively, those around her understood that something serious had happened. Meghan's reported visit had been described as a soft return, a carefully managed appearance connected to charity work and quiet reconciliation. Staff schedules had been adjusted, security arrangements had been discussed, even media outlets had been subtly informed to expect a controlled moment of calm. And then, suddenly, everything stopped. People began asking the same question behind closed doors. What made Princess Anne step in now? The answer, according to palace insiders and longtime royal watchers, lies not in one single argument or disagreement, but in years of tension, concern, and unanswered doubts. From the very beginning of Meghan Markle's time in the royal family, Princess Anne is said to have remained distant. While others tried to welcome change, Anne represented continuity. She had spent her entire life watching the monarchy survive scandals, divorces, public anger, and global pressure. To her, survival came from restraint, not performance. Meghan, on the other hand, arrived as a confident public figure, comfortable with media attention and modern storytelling. This difference in worldview created a quiet but powerful divide. Palace staff have often described Anne as observant rather than confrontational. She did not argue loudly or leak complaints. Instead, she watched, she listened, she remembered. Over time, she reportedly became concerned that Meghan did not fully understand the weight of the institution she had married into. Not because Meghan lacked intelligence or compassion, but because the monarchy does not function like ordinary organizations. Every word spoken, every image shared, and every interview given becomes part of history. For Anne, this was not about popularity, but responsibility. When Meghan and Prince Harry stepped back from royal duties, Anne is said to have viewed it as inevitable. Interviews, documentaries, books, and public statements slowly reshaped the public story of the royal family. To supporters, this was Meghan speaking her truth. To critics, it looked like a private family matter turned into global content. Anne reportedly worried about something deeper: control of narrative. The monarchy, she believed, could survive criticism, but it could not survive being constantly redefined by people outside its structure. As years passed, reports of a possible return began to surface. Not a full return, but selective involvement. Charity work, appearances, carefully chosen moments meant to signal healing. While many welcomed the idea, Anne remained cautious. Royal historians note that Anne has always believed that once boundaries are crossed, restoring them becomes difficult. She is known to ask one question repeatedly in private discussions: what happens next? According to commentators, this question became central when she was given access to private royal materials following Queen Elizabeth II's death. These were not scandal files or secret conspiracies, but personal notes, correspondence, and reflections never meant for public view. The late Queen was known for writing carefully, often noting concerns without acting on them immediately. She believed time often revealed the truth better than confrontation. As Anne reviewed these materials, she reportedly found repeated references to caution, patience, and long-term observation. Nothing explosive, but enough to reinforce her own doubts. Around the same time, palace officials reportedly noticed renewed media activity connected to Meghan's potential return. Stories began appearing that framed her as misunderstood, ready to heal wounds, and prepared to reconnect. This alone would not have stopped anything. But Anne, according to sources, felt the tone was changing too quickly, too perfectly. She believed the situation was being shaped more by strategy than sincerity. This is where her role became decisive. Princess Anne has always seen herself as a guardian rather than a symbol. She does not seek approval, headlines, or affection from the public. Her loyalty has always been to the institution itself, not to individual comfort. When she concluded that allowing Meghan's return could reopen unresolved tensions and weaken already fragile trust, she acted, not publicly, but firmly. She used internal authority, long-established protocols, and her position as a senior royal to halt the process. Those who expected hesitation were surprised. Those who knew Anne were not. For her, the decision was not about punishing Meghan or protecting personal pride. It was about preventing further confusion, conflict, and division within a system already under pressure. As news of the block slowly leaked, public reaction became intense. Supporters of Meghan accused the palace of cruelty and exclusion. Others praised Anne as a stabilizing force. The truth, as always, likely sits somewhere in between. What is clear is that this moment represents more than one person being stopped from returning. It reveals a deeper struggle between tradition and change, silence and storytelling, restraint and expression. Princess Anne did not act suddenly. She acted after years of watching, thinking, and weighing consequences. Whether history will judge her decision as necessary or unfair remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. It was a calculated choice, made by someone who believes the monarchy survives, not by explaining itself to the world, but by holding its line when pressure is highest. As news of Princess Anne's decision spread across the media, the reaction was immediate and powerful. Television networks interrupted regular programs. Online news sites updated their headlines every few minutes. Social media platforms filled with arguments, support, anger, and confusion. For many people, the idea that Meghan Markle had been blocked from returning by a senior royal felt shocking. Some saw it as proof that the monarchy was cold and unwilling to forgive. Others believed it showed that deep problems still existed behind palace walls. The royal family itself remained mostly silent. There were no long explanations, no interviews, and no emotional statements from palace officials. This silence only made the situation feel bigger and more mysterious. In today's world, where public figures usually respond quickly, the lack of comment created even more attention. Royal experts explained that silence is often the monarchy's strategy during crises. They believe that reacting too quickly can make matters worse. But in this case, the public wanted answers. And when official answers did not come, people began forming their own. Supporters of Meghan argued that she was once again being pushed away by a system that never truly accepted her. They pointed to past interviews where she spoke about feeling lonely, misunderstood, and unsupported. To them, Princess Anne's move was not about protecting tradition, but about refusing to change. They believed the monarchy was scared of Meghan's voice and influence. On the other side, many defended Anne. They described her as one of the hardest-working members of the royal family, someone who spent decades quietly serving without scandals or attention. They believed she acted to prevent further drama and protect the stability of the institution. Some commentators even said Anne represented the values of Queen Elizabeth II more than anyone else. This divide in public opinion showed how deeply emotional the topic had become. It was no longer just about a return visit. It was about fairness, tradition, family loyalty, and the future of the monarchy. Within hours of the news breaking, Meghan's team released a statement. It was short but strong. It spoke about disappointment. Royal analysts noted that this kind of public messaging was very different from how the palace usually handled conflict. The monarchy traditionally prefers private discussions and long periods of silence. Meghan's approach was more modern, emotional, and public. This difference in style had always been one of the biggest tensions between her and the royal family. In the days that followed, stories from the past began resurfacing. Old reports about disagreements, difficult meetings, and uncomfortable moments were shared again across news platforms. People revisited Meghan and Harry's interviews, especially the one with Oprah Winfrey, where they spoke openly about feeling trapped and unsupported. Some saw Princess Anne's decision as proof that nothing had truly changed. Others argued that those interviews were part of the reason trust had been broken in the first place. Royal historians explained that the monarchy operates on loyalty and discretion. For generations, family problems were kept private to protect the institution. When Meghan and Harry chose to speak publicly, it shocked many inside the palace. While some family members may have understood their pain, others saw it as crossing a line that could not easily be undone. Princess Anne, according to experts, likely viewed public criticism as something that could weaken the monarchy's authority and unity. This does not mean she lacked compassion, but rather that she believed private matters should remain private. As more discussions took place on talk shows and online platforms, one question kept returning. Was Meghan's return truly about reconciliation, or was it about rebuilding her public image? Some media analysts pointed out that public interest in the royal family remained extremely high, and any connection to it brought attention, opportunities, and influence. They suggested that even a limited return could help reshape Meghan's story in the public eye. Others strongly disagreed, saying Meghan simply wanted peace and a chance to move forward. The truth, as with many public figures, is likely complex. Human emotions, public pressure, and personal goals often mix together in ways that are not easy to separate. Inside the palace, reports suggested that tensions were high. While Princess Anne stood firm, other members of the family were said to feel torn. King Charles, known for his emotional side, reportedly wished for harmony and understanding. Prince William, who has taken on more responsibility in recent years, was believed to be focused on stability and protecting the monarchy's future. No one wanted more public conflict, but no one could ignore the issues either. This moment highlighted a larger challenge the royal family faces in the modern world. They are an ancient institution living in a digital age. Every decision is instantly judged by millions of people around the globe. Silence can look like guilt. Tradition can look like coldness. At the same time, constant openness can damage the mystery and respect that once protected the monarchy. Princess Anne represents the old approach: quiet strength, limited public emotion, and firm boundaries. Meghan represents a newer approach: open conversation, emotional honesty, and public connection. Neither is completely right or wrong. They simply come from different worlds. As days passed without further official statements, speculation continued to grow. Some believed negotiations were happening behind closed doors. Others thought the block was final. Media outlets interviewed former palace staff, royal experts, and psychologists to analyze the family dynamics. Many agreed on one point: trust had been deeply damaged on both sides. Without trust, reconciliation would be extremely difficult. Meghan's supporters continued to organize online campaigns calling for fairness and understanding. Meanwhile, traditional royal fans stood behind Princess Anne, praising her loyalty and strength. The monarchy found itself once again at the center of global debate, not for ceremonies or celebrations, but for family conflict played out in public view. What began as a quiet internal decision had turned into a worldwide conversation about power, tradition, and change. And while emotions were high, the deeper issues remained unresolved. Could the royal family adapt without losing its identity? Could Meghan feel accepted without changing who she is? And could Princess Anne protect the institution without causing further division? These questions hung in the air as the world waited for what would happen next. One thing was clear: this was not just a temporary disagreement. It was part of a larger story about how old systems face modern expectations. The outcome would likely shape the monarchy's image for years to come. As the days turned into weeks, the situation between Princess Anne and Meghan Markle remained unresolved. There were no official peace talks announced, no public gestures of forgiveness, and no clear sign that either side was ready to change its position. The palace continued its tradition of silence, while Meghan's team focused on positive public messaging about healing, strength, and moving forward. This contrast only made the divide more visible. Many people began to understand that this was not just a short-term disagreement, but a deeper conflict rooted in different values and expectations. Royal experts explained that Princess Anne had likely made her decision knowing it would not be popular with everyone. She had spent her life accepting criticism as part of duty. To her, protecting the monarchy's stability mattered more than public approval. This mindset was passed down from Queen Elizabeth II, who believed that the crown must always come before personal feelings. Anne was raised in an environment where service was not a choice, but a responsibility. That background shaped how she responded to crisis. Meghan, however, came from a world where personal truth and emotional expression were encouraged. She was used to speaking openly about challenges and using media platforms to connect with people. To her, staying silent felt like accepting injustice. Supporters saw her honesty as brave, while critics felt it created unnecessary drama. These two approaches clashed again and again. Over time, some royal commentators suggested that both sides were victims of misunderstanding. They argued that the monarchy failed to properly guide Meghan through its strict traditions, while Meghan underestimated how deeply those traditions were rooted. The institution expected her to adjust quietly, while she expected support and openness. When those expectations were not met, frustration grew on both sides. This situation became a lesson in how difficult it can be for an old system to adapt to new personalities. In the public eye, the story continued to evolve. News programs began focusing less on the blocking itself and more on what it represented. Was the monarchy refusing to change, or was it simply trying to survive in a fast-moving world? Younger audiences often sympathized with Meghan, seeing her as someone trying to bring honesty and progress. Older audiences often supported Princess Anne, valuing loyalty, discipline, and respect for tradition. This generational divide reflected broader changes happening in society. People everywhere were questioning old structures and asking for more transparency. The monarchy, one of the oldest institutions in the world, found itself in the middle of this cultural shift. Some experts believed that moments like this could actually help the monarchy grow. They argued that conflict forced important conversations about mental health, family expectations, and modern values. Others feared that constant public drama would slowly weaken respect for the royal family. Trust, once lost, is hard to rebuild, and the monarchy depends heavily on public trust. Behind palace walls, it is believed that family members continued to speak privately, trying to manage the situation without making it worse. King Charles was reportedly focused on keeping relationships from breaking completely. As a father, he cared deeply about both his sons. As a king, he understood the importance of unity. This placed him in a difficult position. He had to balance compassion with duty, emotion with tradition. Prince William, who will one day be king, was said to be watching everything carefully. Many believe this experience will shape how he handles future challenges. He has seen firsthand how public conflict can harm both people and institutions. Some think he may try to modernize the monarchy in his own way while still protecting its core values. Others believe he will follow a path similar to Princess Anne's, focusing on quiet service and stability. Only time will tell. For Meghan, the future also remained uncertain. While she continued to build her life outside royal duties, the connection to the monarchy remained part of her story. No matter how far she moved forward, public interest in her royal chapter did not fade. This brought both opportunity and pressure. She had supporters who admired her strength, and critics who questioned her motives. Living under such intense attention is never easy. Psychologists often point out that public conflict can deeply affect emotional well-being, even for those who appear confident. Both Meghan and members of the royal family likely experienced stress, sadness, and frustration during this period. Unfortunately, when families argue in the public eye, healing becomes much harder. Every step is watched, judged, and often misunderstood. As months went by, new royal events and global news slowly shifted attention away from the conflict. However, the memory of the blocked return remained. It became one of those moments that people would reference whenever discussions about the monarchy's future arose. Some saw it as a necessary stand. Others saw it as a missed chance for reconciliation. In many ways, it symbolized the struggle between past and present. The monarchy has survived wars, political changes, and social revolutions. It has adapted many times before. But each generation brings new challenges. The situation with Meghan highlighted how powerful modern media has become. In the past, royal disagreements could be hidden. Today, they become global conversations within minutes. This reality forces the monarchy to rethink how it handles conflict. Silence, once effective, may no longer always work. At the same time, too much openness can create chaos. Finding the right balance will be key to the institution's survival. Princess Anne's actions will likely be studied by historians in the future. Some will praise her for standing firm when she believed the monarchy was at risk. Others may criticize her for being too rigid. History often changes how we see decisions. What seems harsh in the moment can later be viewed as necessary, and what seems kind can sometimes be seen as harmful. For now, opinions remain divided. The story also reminds us that behind royal titles are real people with emotions, fears, and hopes. Princess Anne is not just a symbol of tradition. She is a woman who dedicated her life to service. Meghan is not just a public figure. She is a person who faced intense pressure in a world very different from her own. When these worlds collided, conflict was almost unavoidable. In the end, the blocked return was not just about one visit or one decision. It was about how an ancient institution handles change, how families deal with disagreement, and how public attention shapes private struggles. Whether reconciliation will happen in the future remains unknown. Some believe time will soften feelings and allow for understanding. Others think the damage is too deep. But one thing is certain. This moment has already become part of royal history. It reflects a turning point where tradition met modern reality head-on. As viewers and followers of the royal family, people will continue to watch closely. Every small gesture, every comment, and every appearance will be analyzed for signs of healing or further division. The story is far from forgotten. It serves as a powerful example of how difficult change can be, even for institutions that have existed for centuries. And as the monarchy continues into a new era under King Charles and eventually Prince William, lessons from this conflict will likely influence many future decisions. Whether Princess Anne's firm stand will be seen as protection or resistance to progress is something only the future can decide.